All right, so we're gonna do this podcast episode a little bit different. We're gonna go deep between Scott and myself.
We have opinions.
We have opinions, and mostly we talk to people, and we want you to meet other people. But sometimes it's good to kind of like catch up, take a breather, and talk about the episodes we had, a couple of things that changed, and ask each other questions. So I have some really cool questions.
You know why I like these? You know why I want to do more of these? It's because every time we're sitting and just like hanging out, we actually have really smart conversations that we don't capture.
Yeah.
Which is actually frustrating because then I'm like, damn it, I wish there was a
The
camera.
camera changes you. The camera, once you have the camera,
I feel it,
like
though.
you have
You feel
to
it?
think within your cortex. Nothing comes intuitive. It's just different. I'm not the same person. It takes me a minute actually until I get
Well, actually,
there.
I think that's why actually, like, listen, you can drink or you can not drink, but I think that the drinking gets rid of like all the inhibitions.
Do you have anything over here? Yeah. Alright.
Okay, so let's do bourbon.
Bourbon. Let's do it. Who are the editors, by the way?
He's my boy, Ali. He's good. He's very good.
More?
No, it's fine.
This residues of it, whatever. Okay.
Whatever.
The stomach juices are gonna
We'll
burn.
have to buy some more.
Yeah, we definitely need to. I have more. I don't know why I bought this one. That was the only one. The other one is all full, and I just grabbed the one.
No, it's fine.
All right.
All right. Cheers, L'chaim.
L'chaim. Okay. Now I'm
See,
happy.
I don't see this being that much worse than tequila. But when you took tequila last time, you died.
Oh my god, tequila is disgusting.
Why?
I don't know. This
I like tequila
taste,
a
the
lot.
aftertaste hits my. I feel like I'm gonna throw up every time I get
you
tequila.
serious?
Yeah.
So you don't
Yeah.
do tequila shots?
Oh, I mean, I'll do it once. I do it when that's the
Talk
only
about
thing
tequila.
around.
You talk about tequila like it's like a hardcore drug. I do it.
I suffer. I don't like it. Like, okay, so here's a story for you. We went to Mexico. I took with another brand, Pure Cosmetics, and Baxichom. We took in 2018 a lot of influencers to Mexico. It was in Punta de Mita.
I don't even know where that is in Mexico.
It's a nice resort. Honestly, we saw it because the Kardashians were there, and we're like, yeah, let's do it over there too. And the Four Seasons, we had some relationship with them. And anyway, it was awesome. Like the crew of influencers we brought, they were all awesome. And my team, Pure, the team was great. Now, I kind of like promised myself I'm not doing any alcohol because I don't really drink much. And when I do, it takes a little bit to get me off balance. And I figure I'm going to be serious. Crowd control over here. So I'm going to be the adult in the room. So anyway, I was sitting down, all of them, it was a +1. So all the girls were in the pool, and there's some gay guys too. They're all in the pool. And most of the guys we were just hanging out. So it's all the husbands, the boyfriends, we're just sitting. It was awesome. And I don't remember how, and they came to me with tequila shots. I'm like, I don't do tequila. I'm still sober at that point. This is Yosef, sober Yosef, right? Oh, no, I don't do that. Anyway, you can't say no to them, and they're very persistent because they're already after a couple shots.
Of course, yeah. They're peer pressuring you.
And they're using those champagne glasses.
For tequila shots?
Yeah, but they're
big
filling
tequila
them
shot.
like more than half.
Yeah, it's a big tequila
It's
shot.
like, so then
That's not a
I
shot.
took one, and then
That's like
another
a
one.
glass.
It's like a glass. It's a couple shots, few of them, and then after 3 or 4, I was already in the pool. And after that, I got on the bar, and there were more shots. And I remember one of the influencers, she was coming to me. She's like, "Do you know Don Julio 1942?"
Oh my God.
No, I didn't know. She's like, "What's that?" And she was mad that I didn't know. Anyways, she's like, "The best motherfucking tequila." Anyway, I got 2 more, and so then I told her, that's it. I can't. I was barely sitting down, and a couple other girls were like, don't take any more. So I was sitting down trying to be all sober. And I remember I spoke to one of them. I think it was Jackie Aina, and we were talking about business thing. And I didn't want to talk business at that point because I didn't know what I really look like. Because you think you're okay because you're just trying to focus.
But you look like you
And
don't look okay.
Yeah, and I told all of them, listen, after dinner, after party, in my room. Now you have to understand, my room was huge. It was a suite with a pool and all that stuff, infinity pool overlooking the thing. So then my team and Pure Cosmetics heard me talking about this in the pool already drunk. And they said, okay, we're going to have to prepare. So they put a bunch of merch, staff pillows with the names of the brands. They already prepared all that. I don't even remember what they said. So then I was talking to Jackie. I'm like, Jackie, I'm sorry. I got to go to room. So it was like 3 p.m. I went to sleep. I woke up at 1 a.m. I woke up completely like that, and I saw a bunch of messages. They were knocking on my door. All of them came in thinking there's a party. There was no party. I was crushed. I was.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
I was crushed, and I was so mad at myself. How am I get? But it was awesome because they get to relate to you more because you stop all that barrier that people okay, let's do it. I'm not used to. And the thing is, they have parties all the time. They drink like sailors.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Small like petite girls, they will drink more than 3 of us together because they're used to drink. So I just see I'm not
actually that's the toughest part about. It's not a tough part, but I mean the part that taxes you the most on networking and going to all the parties, alcohol.
Yeah.
Like I talk to friends that are down in Miami, and I'm actually happy that I'm in Fort Lauderdale because I'm very picky about which events I go to. But I have friends that are in Miami, and like it's a problem because you can drink every single night very easily. And then drinking at a networking event. I went to one networking event that was put on by a great organization. It's called like the Hedge Fund Association, and they rented out 3 yachts. And you could basically just go between yacht to yacht, and every yacht had different food and liquor, and it was awesome. It was right in Miami.
How do you do it? Like, do you swim to the other yacht, like you're in the middle of the ocean?
No, they had a ramp. It wasn't that exciting.
So nice. Okay.
But one of the guys got like shit-faced. He got absolutely shit-faced. And then you make an ass out of yourself.
Yeah.
But the point is, it's just free liquor. Everything's open bar. Everything's free liquor. So you got to watch yourself. And especially if you do that every single night. So not only is it going to be bad on your body, it's going to be like, you're going to put on weight. It's
for sure.
It's a lot of negatives in drinking all the time. So you got to be careful when you network a lot.
My weakness is sweets. I just never like alcohol because it tastes bitter. And I don't like the taste.
But that's the difference. So I'm the opposite. So I don't like sweet stuff. So I like pizza, I like burgers, I like nachos. The only sweet stuff that I like, it's like a get to know you.
Yeah.
It's like the only sweet stuff that I like is chocolate.
Oh, okay.
So I don't like candy. I don't like caramel, like anything like sugar.
You don't like caramel?
No.
If you tell me last wish before we kill you, just give me all the caramel you got. Or
no, it's like a psychological thing. Some people are like wired for like salty and savory, and some people are wired for sweet.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have a lot of weaknesses, I guess, because I do like salty. I like cheese, and I love
but everyone likes
sweets.
You know that there's a chemical reaction in cheese when you eat it that's akin to like, it's some sort of drug. It's like a reaction to like crack or something like that. Like
wasn't
the
it
chemical.
Sugar?
It could have been too.
I think you're confused.
No,
with sugar.
cheese does it too.
Really?
Cheese does it too.
Oh my god. Okay.
You know what we need? We need a Jamie. We need a Jamie like Joe Rogan.
Jamie, can you tell us exactly what's going on? Yeah, no, I have. So I just don't like alcohol. So I'll sit down and I mean.
But that's interesting. You don't like it because it's not sweet. I don't
like the taste. I don't like it. And look. The thing is, if once I need to get to a certain point where I drunk enough to not care about the taste.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna get. I don't need too much to actually feel it. So when I feel like I'm already tipsy, I just shut myself down. I go away. I don't want to be with. But it's hard. Like I can count on, like one hand, how many times it happened to me since I was alive. But
when you got too drunk?
Yeah, because it's just.
I don't have enough hands to count how many times.
It's hard for me to even get to that point because I don't like the alcohol test.
You're right, yeah. So you have to drink
everything I'll tell you with alcohol was with influencer events that we took them out, right? Because when there is an event that I'm invited to, no one pushes anything down my throat. When I'm with influencers, there's always that peer pressure, and you're like, yeah, fuck it, let's get another one.
Yeah.
We did this thing in Coachella. Before COVID in 2019. We brought a bunch of them, and it was awesome. It was great. I mean, we became friends. All of us became friends because of that for life. It's not But we had a bus, and there was just alcohol that they were serving us. And I told the guy, when you give the shots to me, give me water. So I would literally take the shot, and I would be like, and there was nothing. It was just water. Until one of them noticed that, like, no, I saw you. And it was like, I think his name is Sis. It was like, no, drink it like this. So I had to, and that's when I get. But other than that, like I don't really.
But I mean, at least the one thing when, like, it's not like drinking is good, but the one thing that I do appreciate is when people's inhibitions are reduced. Like you get to see what kind of real person they are.
That's true.
So they can't put on a facade. They can't. I mean, like half the reason why I like podcasts is because when you talk to somebody for 2 hours, there's less of a chance of them bullshitting you than if you talk to them for 5 minutes.
Who's the guy that we were drinking and. We were laughing, and I had to stop myself from laughing because we had a little bit extra shots. I think you remember who it was?
I don't know.
It wasn't with Zeke. It was
no, because Zeke is
Zeke
not drinking
doesn't drink, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. We were
I don't remember.
okay. So you don't know, but I was trying to stop myself from laughing.
Why?
Because I had maybe 2 shots,
And you were laughing.
That's all it takes.
Did he say something funny?
Nothing funny.
Oh.
I was just trying not. I was like smiling like this, and one of the podcasts, I don't remember which one.
Oh, watch back after.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I was asking smart questions. I was able to. Yeah.
Well, that's actually, you know what's funny? Because when I drink more, I'm like, when I'm sober, I'm already a nerd. I already like talking about business and whatnot. But when I drink more, like I like talking about it more.
Yeah.
But then you're not even making smart points anymore. You think you're so smart. You think you're the smartest fucking person in the world. You're saying the dumbest shit.
Yes, you increase your sales force. You increase your sales. Wow,
And you're like, you
yeah.
feel like you're like God's gift to business, and you like think you're awesome, and then you like, well, at least there aren't cameras recording when when we're drinking too much.
I was talking today to a friend, and I was telling her that we were talking business, kind of like in general, and I said, "Do you have any hobbies?" Told her before I had my first company, like 20 years ago, I had a bunch of hobbies, and as soon as I started the first business, it was so exciting for me. I mean, my hobbies were dancing salsa, cooking, MMA, right? Stopped all of that. Everything. Even the gym, just recently, I'm doing it more because I need a reset. But I don't have, so now I go, and I remember I used to love going to the beach, used to love going outside, and now I'm not. Like, it's completely transformed.
Because I think that's actually why you've been successful. I think it's because you have an obsession with something.
Yeah.
And I think that people who have never had an obsession with something have a hard time understanding that. So people always ask me. People ask me a lot. Like random people will DM me that will say stuff like, "Oh, I love your content, but like, do you do anything outside of this? Like, do you have any other passions?" Like, and it's hard because ultimately I love what I do, and people don't understand.
This is your hobby.
Why would people love writing a newsletter at 1 a.m, or why would people love like chopping up and finding the perfect clip and see if it goes viral or not?
Do you feel it affects your relationship with Jenna?
No. And that's why I think that we're still together. Because I don't think anybody can date somebody who's trying to build something or multiple things. I think that if you don't set the expectations with the spouse first, I think it's selfish. And if you say, "I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I'm going to build a company," and
but what if you change in the middle?
I think that
you didn't know it's going to happen.
Well, that's why I think there has to be more education about what entrepreneurship really is.
Yeah, but you didn't know that, right? Let's just say.
But that's why I think a lot of relationships fail.
Yeah.
Like I don't think there's a nice way to say it. A lot of relationships fail when you have somebody who is a C-suite in a certain size company.
But it's also because your girlfriend has her own business, so
she does.
She can understand that. Yeah, yeah. So she has her thing, she understands your thing, and that's where it makes sense. Where you're focused on what you do.
I think that you have to have I think you're right. Like what happens if you want to build something when you're in a relationship? If you don't know what you're getting yourself into, well, first of all, it's going to not only affect your relationship, but most entrepreneurs end up being depressed and burnt out anyways. Because
do you feel like
I think most do.
Yeah.
I really do believe most do. I think there's a whole discussion about mental health and entrepreneurship that nobody really has.
Because I ran Boxy after I ran another company for, I want to say 15 years. So
but you never changed. You never had the option of you never had the option. You had the option, but you never worked in the company. So you never made $200,000 9 to 5.
No.
So your perspective of life is entrepreneurship. So what if somebody is $200,000 9 to 5, and then you didn't have mortgage, you didn't have kids when you started. So then they have mortgage, they have kids, they have bills to pay.
No, but I had out of state tuition, and when I started, I was a full-time student. I had to pay about $30,000 a year or so.
Yeah, I know.
For school. So I guess it's a obligation. I really grew after I graduated because I had the first year that I didn't have to do anything. Like I was able to just look for a job, so I kept working.
Yeah.
And then eventually I got married, so I didn't have to go back to school. Then I had mortgage, then I had kids, then I had all those stuff. But the thing is for me, I think it did affect the relationship because when Patty met me, I had a different business. So yeah, I was thinking about the business all the time, but it wasn't like running BoxyCharm. And at one point, I had both companies. And I mean, when I tell you BoxyCharm is a scary business because you can, in one day, find out that you lose everything for one tiny mistake. Just literally, you go and you send all the boxes. And when you send an Excel sheet,
adding a line in an Excel sheet that shifts all the addresses.
Everything. I think I mentioned that, right? And one point, it's like, I lose everything I ever made and I'm going to be in debt. just one, and that didn't happen. We thought it happened, but
I know.
we thought, so it was just losing everything and having to reimburse. Like, so it was very stressful, right? And she was with me, but that just to show you that you're always on edge because you always think, you understand that you can't let your guards down, and it's underlying stress. You're doing it for so many years. You don't just go to sleep okay. And vacations,
Yeah.
I mean, I can relax in the vacation, so it really changes you. So then you come out from the other
You
side,
don't
you
take
sell the
vacations.
business.
I haven't
never
taken.
take
I,
vacation.
when was
I can't.
I go places. I've gone to places, but I don't. I'm not. When I was working in a company and I took a vacation, no one's emailing me. I'm not responding to anybody. When I'm building a business, I check my email 4 times a day. It's not healthy, but it's like you're obsessed with it.
You can't stop
You can't stop.
because you have something. You understand that if
But you've
you
also
move aside, you feel like
you
things are
put
going to happen.
so much risk into it. That's the reason why you win. You put risk in. That's the reason why entrepreneurs win. Why are you stressed out? Because literally everything is on you.
Yeah.
And when everything's on you, you don't take a vacation, because if you take a vacation, I mean, hopefully you have the team to support you, but ultimately, like, you still want to be clocked in, because
Yeah.
it's just like it's a psychological thing.
It takes years to get away from that. Like I was sitting with Richard, he owns Fashion Nova. I was sitting in his house, and one time we were talking, and he only started, I guess, enjoying his life like a year or so before COVID. He was really dedicated, laser focused, no vacation, nothing, right?
He's
single,
like yeah.
all that, and just monster. So then one time he decided, fuck it, let's go on a cruise and whatever, and they rented this mega yacht, and then he goes back and he said, things move on, like the company's okay, and you said, yeah, you find some inefficiencies here and there and mistakes and you fix it, but you said if a forest falls in the middle of if a tree falls in the middle of a forest, does it
Yeah.
matter? Like, so then do I need to enjoy my life now? It's kind of like a struggle for him and many others. Like, do I go in that side or that side? What do I do? Do I just fuck it, the business is big enough to carry mistakes, let's go and enjoy? Or no, I need to think growth, I need to build myself. And I feel like it's so rewarding when you're doing stuff like this, when you're building stuff. It's just a challenge because you're not going to be the same. You can't just sit down. I mean, for guys like me, maybe like you too, I can't just sit in the beach. I can't.
No, I don't.
I can't sit down. I have to move around.
Like I don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because I've been conditioned to build
Too long.
and too long. But that's fine. I mean, every day we're conditioned to like new things and to accept new lenses that we look at life through into our life. Like, you look at Alex Ramosi. Alex Ramosi always talks about, why do I need to have hobbies if I enjoy what I do?
Exactly.
And for somebody who doesn't enjoy it, they're like, oh, that guy's fucked up. It doesn't make any sense. Why would he say that? It's his life. He enjoys it. If you want to paint, if you want to go to the gym, if you want to build a business, if you enjoy
It's challenging when you're with a partner that doesn't get to that, right?
But his partner's Layla Hermosi, and she's also the exact same.
So for me,
So to
it
your point.
wasn't. Yeah, for me it wasn't like
Yeah.
that, because with Patty, she was like, you need work-life balance. It was the whole time, and I know she got it, but I was just not the same man she married, because when I started Boxy, everything changed. Before that, we would do a little bit more stuff. But then Boxy came, and oh boy, like that's it. And then we did the first sell for Boxy. I sold a piece of it in 2016, and she thought, I'm gonna be more in the house because now we cashed out. At the time, it looked pretty big, and I was like, oh, now you. But then instead, I doubled down. I got more obsessed because in your mind you're thinking, well, those people trusted me. They gave me that kind of money. And I can't fuck it up. It's just, that's true.
It
So
messes with
it
you
was
more.
even worse. So yeah. And then by the time we sold the company, we were already not together. So there's that sad part that it doesn't work for everybody.
So, okay, this is an interesting point. So we were writing down questions, and you had a couple questions for me that I thought were good. And I think that actually I want to bring up one of the questions because I think it's going to create a good conversation. So one of the questions that we're brainstorming is, does your life change after an exit event? And you asked me this previously, and I said no, it doesn't. And it's because the cash out that I got from that wasn't big enough for my life to change. Like, I didn't have to jump in right away, but at some point in the future I would have had to have done something. So I'm curious when, and my life didn't really change. Realistically, like I was making good money in the role. My burn rate per month maybe went up a little bit, but that's not really.
You're still lean, mean, fighting machine.
Yeah, like I don't think I spend that much more. I think the majority of my spend for my last company, I was mostly in Toronto. Rent was a little bit cheaper. You add a couple $1,000 in rent when you move down to Florida. Okay, so that's a little bit. I mean, the average dinner in Miami is a little bit more expensive than so, and also the American dollar versus the Canadian. So but it's not like life changes that much. So I was curious, in your opinion, what's the amount of money that you have to make for your life to considerably change? Because in theory, you could never work again.
Yeah.
So, but do you think that it's like 10 million, 50 million, 100 million? Like, what's the amount that you have to make so that...
Every person is different, right? I live different than others. I have a nice house, but I don't really buy stuff. I don't care about...
You don't buy a lot of stuff at all.
I don't care about anything, right? Because I don't know. I just, the way I am, right? I find that, yeah. I know, but that's it. The last drop. That's generous. So, yeah, I don't really need much. I do like experiences. So if I travel, I need to get first class, or I'll get a jet here and there. But it's not that I do it very often, because I like to stay home.
So you do private
once in a blue moon.
But you mostly fly first.
Fly first with friends. I'll do private, because I'm not gonna do it by myself. It's kind of weird. I'm not. Like we'll jump together and it's gonna be fun, but even then, like I found myself. I'll give you a story. I in 2021 I went to Mykonos because my friend told me, get a cam, I'll change your life. Mykonos. I said, cool, let's go. So we went group of friends, right? And the first 3 nights, I think I had to let myself go. I mean, that's it. I sold. I don't have anything to worry about. That's it. Enjoy, right? We're going to all those restaurants and clubs and all it is, and I couldn't connect the first 2 nights. Third night, I was already enjoying it. And then I remember I was just one of the morning parties. Someone was talking to me over there. It's like really successful people over there, but it's a different vibe. And one of them told me what he does, and we're talking, and we started getting into a conversation, and it was kind of loud. And I told him, tell me more. And it was interesting what he told me, and he gave me a couple ideas. One of them was really exciting. And I remember I wanted to get the fuck out of there. It's just a distraction for me. I want to go and try what he was talking about. And I said to myself, this is my hobby. So then I figure a podcast is a thing. I'll sit down with smart people. I'll do it in my house. I'll get smarter. I can't expect everyone to change my perspective on some topics, but fuck, man, this is awesome. That's what I enjoyed. If there's one single event that I had was one point of intellect between all this alcohol and parties. It was fun, but it was that. So that my life ended up changing.
Well, you have freedom.
Yeah, my freedom, yes. But you know what changed in my life? The 18 years that I was running companies, there was always an underlying stress that you don't know that you have it unless you get away from this for a while. And then I get divorced. Mm-hmm. So you get divorced. So you get the freedom. You buy this house. You live alone, not too far from your kids. You get to see them every week. But in the days you don't have the kids, you don't have to worry about managing hundreds of people and having all this underlying stress. And you can do whatever the fuck you want. And if you do a podcast, it's for fun. Mm-hmm. And this is where your life changed. So it's not because I can go and get a jet and a crew and a boat and a crew, and it's not that, or it's not that. It's because I don't care for any of those. I care about the fact that here, close to my house, close to my town, I have the ability to go and wake up in the morning without knowing that like it's a doomsday today. Yeah. Some problem happened and a class action on the business, and just you don't have that stress. That is a big thing for me. And being single again, it changes you. So you have too many elements that happen to me at the same time. That
I think there was oh my god, I'm gonna blank on his name. Chamath, and I can't pronounce his last name.
Oh yes, I know which one.
So he was on Lex Friedman's podcast, and Lex actually asked him how much money it takes to be happy, and I think. I'm going to try and look it up.
I think he said 50 million.
I think he said 50 million.
Yes.
50 million, because there's nothing you can really buy after 50 million. But 50 million is enough to not work.
Yeah.
For the rest of your life.
That's true. You don't need more than that for now.
No.
It all depends, right?
With inflation, maybe. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
I don't think 10 million's enough.
I feel it's obviously less than that. It doesn't have to be 50 million.
No, but you got to think like, okay, so fine. Yes. 20 million starting to be. Yes. I don't think 10 million for most people is enough.
No. Not enough.
20 to 30 million is probably enough if you invest wisely. to not work. So you could
I
invest.
feel he meant 50 million without even investing it. I feel the point is if you're saying,
No,
well,
you don't have.
if you
have
don't
50
even
million in the
invest the
bank,
50 million,
you're
I
not
think-
even going to think about your burn rate.
yeah.
You're gonna spend $50,000 a month, and you're gonna blow money on stupid vacations.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many months. Let's do the math.
If you have 12 months out of the year,
Yeah.
and you're at the age of 40, and let's just say you're very lucky and fortunate to live another 60 years,
Yeah.
which is probably not going to happen. But
So that's $600,000 a year just in life.
Yeah.
And then you say times 4. That's 25 million if you times 40 years.
that's what I say.
That's
You don't
not
need
bad.
more than. Yeah, I mean, you'll still be okay. I mean, look, in 50 years from now, in
But
40
50,000
years from now, 600 is not enough. So you have to have some interest compound on this on top
Because
of that.
yeah, so the $50,000 a month. I mean, even if you think about so for the average person, that's way more than they spend.
Yeah.
But if you were running a company that allowed you to make 50 million after the acquisition or the sale, your expenses are probably high property tax, probably private school for your kids.
But you got to be completely foolish.
This screws
to
over
not
athletes
invest.
all the time.
No,
This
no,
screws
no,
over
not
athletes.
100%. But you got to be completely foolish to do it, right? You have to say, all right, if I want to go and buy a property, why don't I buy a couple other properties that I can rent to pay for that property? And that's it. I can park my money in land.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to do. And in time, it can pay itself off. You can even put it in a real estate investment trust or something, or some REITs.
Yeah.
And then you're fine. It's not because it's going to pay for. Right now, I mean, interest rate is high because of the conditions in the market, right? But you say to yourself, like, you're not supposed to actually use that money. I think what he meant was 50 million is for you either to live a little bit more lavish or to not even invest that money and to run through that cash. I didn't do the math that he did, but I think it can be with less. Not everybody has to buy the same houses, but if an average house goes for, say, 800,000, because you did get 50 million, $1 million, whatever
Yeah.
it is, and you said, I'm not going to work anymore, the interest in the United States is going to be 1.8% a year, right? So for $1 million, it's 18,000 a year, right? And then you do homestead on
Yeah.
it. I mean, it's not that hard. You take yourself $10 million, you put it in REITs, you get about 14% return, and about 5% is going to be in rent collected. And you put that 400,000 back into your pocket, you're living good. You're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that money is enough for you to live a lifetime, right? So I feel like it's without investing.
You think so?
I think so, if you know how to manage your money. Look, what do you do after you cash out? And I think we're going to have one of my friends come in one of our podcasts, and this is our conversation. It's my neighbor, one of the most beautiful homes in Miami. He exited in 2016. His name is Brad. And he saw me walking down the street and doing something, and he saw the construction I have. He said, welcome to the life of a homeowner, because I have that leak over there. And I told him, yeah, I've been having homes for a while. I've been having issues with every home I had. And we were talking about that, and we both ran into the same problem. You have the cash that you have, and then you have your checking account. And eventually, if you don't manage your money right, you run out of money in the checking account because you don't have an operating business. So you have to go back to the main account, and you don't mentally want to ever touch it. That's for those who cash out. Now, even if you appreciated that money more than the money that you had in the checking account, mentally you don't want to touch it. It's fighting inflation, whatever it is, right? And you said, well, we need some kind of operating account to start creating new. And we both ran into the same scenarios. Like, this is our problem. When you have a company, you know how to make money. You don't know how to park your money.
Yeah.
And after you exit, all you can do is park your money wise, but you don't have that. You're in a different habitat. This is not your natural habitat. So now we're figuring out, like, I mean, 2 years into it, you're doing much better, obviously, than before. But I mean, you're going straight into a bear market.
Do you park a lot of your money, then loan against those assets?
I have not done this yet because till now, so I don't have any loans or anything like that.
Because I think that's a way to do it.
100%. I'm definitely going to do it now when it comes down to real estate, even though interest rate is high. There are some portfolios that we're buying that are going to be about 25% return.
That's good.
And then, okay, so I'll
Do
take
REITs or just-
6%. No,
Oh.
REITs would never give you that.
Yeah, no. So
REITs
this,
would
you're just
never
buying.
ever.
You're just buying.
Yeah,
okay.
you buy homes that. So yeah, we found that we have quite a few portfolios and obviously managing everything, but that's worth it because then you don't manage your money. And when you do the math, it makes no sense to use your own money. So you can get yourself quite a few units and you never have to work. All the money is going to be Grant Cardone was saying it better than me. He was saying just you can buy stupid shit with passive income, and he goes around showing his cars and watches like buy stupid shit with passive income, like one of those things. Like that's where that's where you don't need 50 million.
I want to. Okay, so I want to go into something that's happening to me on LinkedIn right now, and I want to talk about a post that I did.
Okay.
Because it's really relevant, and actually, you gave me inspiration for this post, and then it went.
I'm a very inspiring person.
You are a very inspiring person. So basically, it was about the square root of people doing most of the work.
By the way, I picked it up from someone else. So, but give me the credit.
No. Okay, so I found out who did. I found out who the original guy was. I'm gonna read the post, and then it went. And when I say viral, it has currently, as of what's the date today? The 21st.
Yeah.
At like 4 p.m. It's like 11,000 likes, 895 comments, 566 reposts, 2,024,000 impressions.
By the way, so LinkedIn has 2% of the users in LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Post content. I'm speaking what Eric told us. Eric. So he said 2% of the people on LinkedIn post content versus Instagram, which is 87% of the people. So if you want to go viral, it's much likely to go in LinkedIn versus.
So I'm repurposing all my Twitter stuff all onto LinkedIn because it's wild the reach you get. So I'll read the post because I did some research into this principle, and then a guy added some more context, which is really good, but it's very polarizing. Okay, so I said when Elon bought Twitter, they had 7,500 employees. He fired 50% of their workforce. Another 1,200 left after he told them he was going to make Twitter, quote, extremely hardcore. That means that less than 2,900 remain. So how can 2,900 do the same job as 7,500? So the law was originally called Price's Law. So it was Derek Price, a British physicist, historian, and scientist. He discovered something interesting about his peers. There was always a handful of people who dominated the publications within a certain subject. Being a scientist, he investigated. He found out the following. 50% of the work is done by the square root of the total number of people who participate in the work. Mm-hmm. He tested it across different groups, different audiences. It always universally applied, especially in business. So the square root of the number of people in a company do 50% of the work. In a company of 10 employees, 3 of them do 50% of the work. Remaining 50% is done by the other 7 people. This scales. So competence grows linearly. Incompetence grows exponentially. 10 employees, 3 of them do 50% of the work. 100 employees, 10 of them do 50% of the work, the other 90 do the other 50%. 10,000 employees, 100% of them do 50% of the work, the other 9,900 do the other 50%. So the survival of any business requires the execs to figure out who the most competent people are in the organization and keep them happy, keep them around. And this is Price's Law. So I said Elon just has to hope that the right people are still in Twitter.
And why is it polarizing?
People find that I think it's polarizing for a few reasons. I'm going to add this guy's context because it's important, and then we'll discuss why it's polarizing. Yeah. But this isn't a normal LinkedIn post. That's a lot of impressions for a LinkedIn post. So this guy, Frederick, he also...
By the way, one thing you can tell the difference between audience, everything is just a long chain of information that you wrote down.
Brilliant.
That means people read on LinkedIn, people view on Instagram. Yeah. That is the main difference. You wouldn't be able to get that writing it on Instagram. That would be only on Facebook or on LinkedIn.
And Facebook has no organic reach. Not really.
Well...
No,
not like before.
It's not like before. I mean, if you're going to try and go viral on Facebook, especially in North America, Facebook and other parts of the world, it's actually still pretty popular. But I don't think it's as popular in North America.
No, not anymore.
Okay, so a couple things. So Price's Law applies, but it assumes the nature of the work is without specialties, meaning if A, B, and C, all the way to Z are all workers, then they can do the work of each other, and then no division of labor or work delegation. So what are the exceptions? So football has divisions and duties. A goalkeeper cannot become a midfielder, etc. An IT team, there is a division of work: front end, back end, database, full stack, platform. So special situations and how to go about applying Price's Law in a very large team. So for an IT team, for example, although IT teams seem like an exception, in a very large IT team, like in the case of Twitter, with careful cutoffs and layoffs, you can achieve Price's Law. You will only apply Price's Law to various subunits. So you apply it to the front end team, you apply it to the back end team. So no, he's saying, no, you cannot just get rid of all the the UX designers or UX developers.
Yeah, you have to do it per team.
You have to do it per team, but still across the teams, the law applies.
Now, how do you know, because he fired half of the people, how do you find the most impactful ones?
So this was a follow-up to this. A follow-up to this was, how do you find the most impactful teams? You focus on employees that, first of all, think like entrepreneurs, and you focus on X-shaped or multi-shaped employees. People that can manage their core task, but also have experience in other tasks as well. So that's one. As that means that they won't be perfect, but they can lend helping hands to other departments. Yes. So if somebody doesn't have experience working with developer teams in particular, because this is what a lot of people were complaining about, like, no, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't work just in silo. It has one more.
But I in my past company, I had like a full stack developer, but he focused on the front end because he had a gift for creative and aesthetics, but he could totally do database and back end work if he needed to. So yes, so him as an employee is useful because his job mandate is to do the front end and the UI and the UX design. But ultimately, if, for example, somebody was laid off, he could instruct someone else on how to do backend, or he could take that up himself or herself. Now, I'm not saying that you want to build an organization where you fire people, then push extra work onto the people that are good at it, because that's a different story. That's not keeping them happy, and they're going to burn out, and they're going to leave right away.
What else is it over there?
There's a lot. There's 900 comments.
No. So I'll tell you what I think.
But I want to know why it's polarizing. And you asked,
why would you think it's polarizing? I get the point of people letting go, but why do you think it's
I think it's polarizing because people feel as though every person in an organization contributes at their 100% capacity. It's a nice thought. It's a nice thought that everybody tries really, really hard.
It's simply not true.
But it's not true.
It's not true, unfortunately.
I read another post.
Does every basketball player contribute the same when you play basketball? Can everyone contribute the same like LeBron James or Michael Jordan? And you can see it anywhere you go in life. Why is it when it applies to sport, it's okay, but when it applies to business, it's not okay? Why is it that we understand that LeBron is more gifted than the rest of the team that he has, right? Without LeBron, there is no victory, right? Why?
People don't like being told that they're actually replaceable.
Exactly.
That is why it's polar. No one's going to say that in the thread, but the underlying psychology is nobody likes to think that they're replaceable. It's a demoralizing concept. You
know what Naval said about that? He said a group would never admit they're mistaken. Mm-hmm. That would separate the group. They would never admit that there's. I can go and tell you as an individual, you did a mistake and you'll agree. But if I tell you that group is wrong, so if I go and I say, well, if you look at this as a collective, you would say no, it's not. But if you're an individual contributor, that you understand ultimately that you're the one that come up with all the solutions and all that, but you don't know how to kind of like climb the ladder, and that's what happened to the best engineers. Mm-hmm. Right? They're so focused on results, they don't really know how to build themselves up and ask for their own benefits. And typically there'll be always that person next to them, a beta, that's going to sit next to them and would try to climb and will build up on what they say in a more coherent way. Mm-hmm. And then the job of the manager is to say, okay, I see what's going on here. Thank you. I didn't ask you to add. He already told me that. And make sure they separate it. But most managers don't realize that. They'll go for those with a better PowerPoint presentation, all that stuff. And that's, where the good ones would write on a piece of napkin because it's all about the value of what I'm giving you, not the presentation of that. So what you see over here is, I guess, the thing with Elon Musk, he's a polarizing person. Mm-hmm. And as soon as he said, vote for DeSantis, that is going to be polarizing.
Vote for Trump.
Vote for, I don't know if he said no. He said
no,
vote for
sorry,
DeSantis.
I thought you meant reinstating Trump on Twitter.
No, that is obviously people would have an opinion about that, right? But when he went and he said, I vote Republican this time. Okay, that's it. Anything he's going to do is going to be polarizing. From this point on, there's not going to be substance to the matter that he's dealing with. But when you look at him, right, CEO of PayPal, CEO of, the chief technology officer at the time until he hired one for SpaceX. Mm-hmm. And literally says then Tesla. So he's a technology guy. He knows everything about technology. So I feel like the good ones, the real alpha ones, the one that A++, would know who the A++ engineers are. If you're a beta, you don't know. Like you just can't see what other people see. So he can come in and say, okay, what are the projects you're working on? Let me see. Okay, cancel this. He's big on you shouldn't optimize a product that shouldn't exist,
Yeah.
right? So I bet that he killed half of their projects. Okay, now we don't need so many people. Now let's go. This is what we gotta have to focus on.
Well, if you look at, so he's polarizing. People love to hate him. But ultimately, somebody DM'd me today because I posted that, and they're like, what's your fascination with Elon Musk? I'm like, I'm fascinated because he's, I think, probably one or two in terms of richest people in the world documented. He's built a ton of very successful companies. And he's basically applying all these startup lessons to Twitter. So he's trying to trim all the fat. Twitter has the lowest revenue per head count of any social media company. So that's a problem.
100%.
So he's trying to introduce recurring revenue. He's trying to increase the revenue per head count. He's trying to ship new products and iterate, and Twitter Blue, $8. He shipped a new product, saw features or functions or bugs or whatever, pulled it back, trying it again. He's like doing what startup founders do, but he's doing it with one of the largest organizations.
It's kind of like what he did with SpaceX. He was going to blow a bunch of missiles in the air until one is going to fly and come back.
But nobody cared about
with
SpaceX.
Blowing it up. Like if you go to a traditional organization, they'll say, if that missile blew up, I'm going to have to chop some heads off. In his case, like, no, if it didn't blow up, that means we didn't try hard enough.
Yeah.
Well, our ambition wasn't. So, yeah, I mean, some things are going to break, but he's going to fix it. And he did mention that early on. Look, I mean, in Elon Musk, I think, it's kind of like in every generation, you have one person that can carry not just discussions, but like where people want to go and focus on, right? People wouldn't mention or talk about electric vehicles if it wasn't for him. If the world is going to be a cleaner place, it's much because of him. Now, and it's just one example, right? If you're talking about space exploration, without him going back and down, blowing up missiles and potentially his entire wealth, humanity wouldn't be able to explore in the future what we are doing today. It's because of him. So even if you don't like him, I feel like for that point, everyone has to kind of like has a certain gratitude for that, for the fact that he puts everything on the line like no one else would.
Yeah.
I mean, and I wouldn't put everything on the line. I have things to think about. I was coming for. I'm not gonna put everything on the line the way he did when he had 180 million coming out of PayPal, and he put it all, and then he slept at his friend's couch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really pushes the bar, and he sees Twitter as something that is valuable enough to put his time and energy into. I mean, he plays at a bigger level. Jeff Bezos bought Wall Street Journal. Does not play at the level of Twitter.
No.
So
he bought it to buy influence with politicians more than anything, right? He wasn't doing it to actually, in Elon's mind, he was like, look, woke is a problem. We have to kill the woke mentality and just make sure that we have free speech. He wasn't going in to go and buy politicians with this, so he was just saying, I'm going to go and buy free speech.
So it's interesting, but it's obviously a very polarizing topic. I think that with how fast he iterates and tries new things and ships things, I do believe that Twitter will be incredibly successful, because if you test enough stuff at scale, you'll find out what works and what doesn't.
I have no doubt. I feel like what people got to take from this, from your article, is that when you run a company, you will have free riders, you will have mediocre people, you will have people that can articulate themselves and say stories and give you stories why they're so good, but it's going to be a facade, and you only figure it out after you let them go. And I said this before, and I'll say it again. You know, I never regret letting go anybody. I only regret not letting them go sooner.
Mm-hmm.
When you have that hinge, when in doubt, the idea is that as higher they are in the organization managerially, less you need to have less chances.
Yeah.
But if I hire a VP and that VP doesn't perform, zero chances, get out. That's it. You're a VP. If you're a coordinator, I'm going to teach you. We'll educate. Make sure that you understand. We'll prep you. We'll give you crash course, and another one. We'll give you many options because it is the beginning. But when you hire someone all the way in the top, if you find that person doesn't really understand that, figure out what it is, obviously. But if he doesn't know their own, or she doesn't know their own job, and my job is not to manage a VP. Right? Just a VP needs to manage a lot of people and
manage themselves.
Manage himself. Like, this is not. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and we're gonna have to cut it fast.
Yeah.
Worst when you keep him longer, and you feel that mistake later on. So that's the idea, and then you'll find yourself with much more effective organization. You'll never be able to succeed 100% because when you have 2-3 people with you, there's something about the founder that gets the best out of people, and that's why they're so efficient. If you have 4 people, 2 will do 50%, right? It's perfect. Once you start scaling, you can't manage so many people, and now you start seeing inefficiencies. And then from there on, just understand it happens, and then go back to your managers and say, usually the organization, the sub-part in the organization falls under the jurisdiction of that manager, and if that manager wasn't good enough, it's on them. If those 2 people under that manager poorly executed, go back to the manager. Always. Don't go to those 2 people only. All right, let them go and do their thing. Let them fire underneath, fix, correct. But if after a while you see that they keep those people, they retain those people, and something doesn't work, it's on the manager.
Okay, let's talk about FTX because that's trending right now. Did you
Never heard of them? What's that?
You have money on it or no?
No. But I have friends that lost the money. Yeah.
A lot?
One of my partner in one of my investments, a good guy, and I think he lost about 400,000 or 500,000.
Okay, that's enough.
It's enough to, yeah.
Okay, so where does this leave crypto? Because do you want to? I mean, I think everybody who cares about this has probably heard the story, but basically, what had happened was FTX is a crypto exchange run by Sam, like SBF.
Bankman-Fried.
Yes.
If you actually look at Fried, it spells like fried. Bankman-Fried, and you go and you invest with that man. It's already a big red flag.
So he had U.S.-based operations, and he had international-based operations. U.S. is regulated, international wasn't. A lot of people said that was because there was lack of clarity from U.S. regulators on how to operate a business in crypto and DeFi and Web3. Basically, CZ, who's the CEO and founder of Binance, another probably the second largest crypto exchange, or largest actually. I'm not sure the volume compared to Coinbase, but they're pretty big. He had basically said something along the lines of I don't trust FTX.
And that's all it.
And it created a run on the bank, and then FTX was not liquid enough to fulfill the orders, and I think they were short about $8 billion. And then it was like a house of cards that collapsed, and FTX International collapsed, and they weren't liquid enough. And then obviously now that cascaded, and the whole crypto markets felt this. And I think it's based in Bahamas, and Sam Bankman-Fried is in the Bahamas, and now he's being investigated by the Bahamian authorities, and it's a whole thing, right? And now the issue, a big issue with this, because FTX and SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, they invested in all these crypto companies. They have tons of investments, and then now they're going to they were also the second largest Democratic donor. They put money in a lot of places. So now what's happening is you see FTX, absolute shit show. They're saying it was fraud. SBF is saying that it wasn't fraud, but they had all their assets properly documented. Also, there was some shady stuff, he had a hedge fund called Alameda Research, and they were investing some of the investors' money that was supposed to be going to FTX into Alameda Research, which is technically what banks do anyways. Reserve fractional banking is the same thing that they were doing. But they weren't a bank, which is the bigger issue. Because if a bank, which does invest some of your money, if you put it into a bank, it's not actually yours. They invested in different assets. If there's a run on the bank, Bank of America or TD or whatever, they have insurance, and they can also go to the government for bailouts. And there's a whole.
But that wasn't the reason they fell, right? They fell because
they were doing reserve fractional banking in crypto, but they weren't a bank. So when there was a run on the bank,
the issue, what I understood, and I'm not the most technical in this one, what I understood is that when you go long or short and you buy futures against particular coin, the idea is that there has to be a margin call.
Yes.
And then they just allowed it to go too big and play the market. And
compounded things happen.
Yes.
So Alameda Research was doing some shady stuff with investor funds, but the point was FTX was lending out investor funds, and then on top of all this,
that was on FTX. That wasn't on Alameda.
Oh,
that was on when you go on FTX, you can buy futures.
Well, they didn't have short stops for some reason.
That's a point, right?
Yeah.
Because you need to have a margin call. If you go to if you go right now to any organized platform, I don't know, E-Trade, right? And I want to go and buy options, or well, in their case, I want to do futures, right? If you have $1 in the account and you say, well, let's just say you go in the S&P 500, right? A future contract will cost you $12,000. So they take the $12,000, and then they say, how much money do you have in the account? Well, let's just say I have in the account another $12,000. Okay, so then you decide if you buy a long or a short. In a short explanation is that if I short the market and the market goes up every point on the S&P, that's $50. So that means it starts going up while I short the market and I decide to stay on my position because I think it's going to turn. Eventually, I ran out of the remaining fund. I had 12,000 left. If the bank decides that they can still give me some leverage, one-time leverage, I have an additional 12,000. If they decide no because of the record of whatever calculation, I said, that's it. You ran out of the $12,000 that you have. Here's a margin call. We're issuing you back the $12,000 that the contract cost you, and you just lost $12,000. This way, it keeps the system. You only play with your money on one-on-one. Mm-hmm. What they've done with FTX was they didn't have that.
Oh, I didn't
they didn't
know
have those management. Yeah, okay. That was the reason they failed, right? Because there was no regulators. Mm-hmm. If you already go there and you say, well, we are anti-establishment. We don't need any of those regulators to tell us what to do. This is all about decentralization. Well, first of all, you're not decentralized. It's a company. You have a CEO. You're a company. Second, you did donate to regulators, right? To the Democratic Party in this case. Right? So you did donate to regulators, but you decided not to be regulated as a private company, going into the philosophy of crypto, saying, well, so the point was that if you already go to a company that's like, if it's going to be Binance or if it's going to be, make sure that it's an organized company. So it's easier when you go to a company that's regulated by the stock exchange, like Coinbase. And you said, okay, they're regulated, it's one-on-one. They have a transparency with, and I'm sure now it's going to be much more scrutiny. And it's safe, okay? It's a shitty customer service. You want to kill them. You literally want to kill them.
But it's safe.
But it's safe, you know? Versus going into a better UI, UX with FTX and a guy that's putting himself out there and then takes away all your money.
They were also hacked, too. So this is the whole thing, right? Now they're hacked and they think, like, are they being hacked? Is it an inside job? And then, like, the Bahamian authorities are saying that we forced SBF to... It's like a whole... Anyway, the point is, not good. It's not good. It's been like, I mean, if you're hearing for it first now, that's surprising, to be honest. But it's been newsworthy for a bit. But what does this mean for crypto? What do you think it means? I don't,
it's a great opportunity for those.
I'm not bold enough to make a prediction because the reason why is because this is huge. This is bigger than Bernie Madoff. This is bigger than Enron.
It's not really bigger than Bernie Madoff. That was 50 billion back then. And Enron was 10 billion, but that was in the 90s. What is 10 billion in the 90s versus 20 billion today? So
but what about all the other...
I'm giving you a little bit more because you're doing good so far. I reward you with some tequila. I'll drink with you some tequila.
But what about all the subsidiaries they invested in?
Yeah, but all combined was 20 billion that they lost, right?
Was that the total?
Yeah, 22. I think it was 22 from what I read.
Out of all the portfolio? Okay, so fine. It's not Bernie Madoff.
It's very big, though. It's very big because it affects, I felt like what it does, it affects the crypto market, and that causes a loss of much more than 20 billion. Ben,
It's bigger than Enron, though.
I mean, yes, but it's paper money that it lost, right? In Enron, when they lost 10 billion in the 90s, I think it was 10 billion or 8 billion, right?
I just remember
it was in the 90s. What was 8 billion back then in the 90s? What was a house going for today? What was gas price?
Let me figure it out. So what was Enron?
Enron.
Let me look it up.
Was 18 or 8? Something with 8. There was, I want to say I remember 8 over there.
Jamie. No, Enron was 74 billion.
What?
The Enron scandal drew attention to accounting and corporate fraud as the shareholders lost 74 billion.
Oh, well, then there you have it.
Okay. But what were the Enron?
Bernie Madoff was 50 billion.
Yeah, so outstanding. Okay, so never mind.
Well, cheers, man. Cheers for that.
Enron
it wasn't that bad, guys. Cheers. Ignore what we just said.
Okay, so it's not as bad as Enron or Bernie Madoff. But, first of all, Enron and Bernie Madoff operated for a lot longer than SBF did.
Oh, that is correct. Yes. Yeah. That guy did some damage.
Bernie Madoff but he was like boarding like regulator. No, yeah. Who was he? He was on the board of.
No, he wrote legislations. He was.
It's like wild.
Have you watched his movie with De Niro?
No, I haven't yet.
Oh my God, you have to watch it. You should watch Margin Call. Margin Call would make you understand a little bit better. You have to watch Margin Call. It's on Netflix. I want to say it's on Netflix. It is an amazing movie. It basically talks about exactly what I said. a margin call comes down, it comes due if you're too short on your position.
I think I've seen margin call.
You've seen it?
I think I've seen margin
If
call.
you need to watch
This
Big
is
Short
housing
and
crisis, right?
no. That is The Big Short.
I've seen
which
Big Short
it's,
then.
it's important to watch The Big Short. When people talk about the housing market today, if it's going to crash or not, I feel like the primes sub loans were the reason it happened.
Yeah.
Where you had derivatives, right? So it's like I buy I buy a bet that those loans are going to be paid, and I'm buying a bet on the person who made the bet on those loans, and then I buy a bet on the bet. So it was just the market was so leveraged at the time. The market is not as leveraged right now, so I know that there are quite a few people.
What happens to crypto though? That's what I mean. It's
Well,
what
crypto has
talking
its
about home
cycle. Crypto had its cycle, and it
Yeah.
needed that cycle. A big slap in the face. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think it's very naive to think it will. Even when I look at Bird Ape Yacht Club, which I can relate to it. I'm sorry, I can buy a freaking picture with 10,000
Okay,
of
so
those.
this is the thing about.
But then still, it's still 60 grand. I mean, if you buy floor price for Bored Ape.
You know how many people lost millions of dollars when they bought when it was hype and FOMO about NFTs?
100%.
Justin Bieber lost something like
1.3 billion, and it was so. But the question
it's
is, was he
insane.
selling it for that price? Was he selling it for 100 and something? Because why would you even sell it for that price? Just leave it. If you lost it just for $175, just leave it.
Yeah.
Don't touch it. I don't know. I also heard on cases where people mistakenly put it for sale, and instead of putting, say, 1,300 ETH,
Oh,
they'll put 1.3 ETH or point
Oh, they just screw it
13.
up.
Yeah, so there were mistakes like this. Look, I don't understand why would anybody buy
so the
a
issue with-
computer-generated image, and there are 10,000 of them, and you would buy it for so much
So
money.
this is the issue with Bored Ape Yacht Club because they launched the NFT first, and now they're building the product with the money they used from the original sale.
And what is the product?
It's like community events, meetups.
Yeah.
A
So
whole
they're
bunch of-
taking the project and they're making it into a company, which it's okay because you have a community around this, and then you make it a company.
It's always a case of like, how is that not just raising money?
It's very easy. I'll tell you why. Because the exchange, when you buy Bored Ape, every time there are gas fees, and some of it goes to the founders. So if you have, let's just say, every day a trade of, let's just say, 200 images, and each one in average at the hype was $250,000, and you make 2% of that, but you have 1,300 or 2,000 transactions a day, right? That is your revenue that comes in, and that is why they made it. Now you have that endless money coming in. How can you make people exchange more? That's the entire objective. So okay, let's throw parties, let's throw stupid money, because we get stupid money. It falls off the sky.
Yeah.
People are buying this, selling that. All that exchange kept going on, and they needed this to continue. Once that exchange dies, the whole project dies, and it's going to be gloom. But I wouldn't be surprised if in the future it's going to have its value. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to crush that theory, because right now, and it's hard to say, because right now everybody wants to demonize it. At first, everyone idolize it, and if you said anything against this, you just don't understand, and I don't want to explain to you.
Yeah.
Right. But now, if you try to go and say, wait, in 10 years, perhaps there's going to be something out of this, and people are going to go and demonize you over there. So it's like there's no in between. Where people say, listen, if it's a couple $1,000s, I'll buy it, and if it turns something, I'll keep it. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I mean, if you put it, if I go and I put, like, say, $10,000, and it turns into 100,000, and you didn't take it out, you're a fucking fool.
You know what happened
You
to
fool.
you know that Dogecoin millionaire?
Mm-hmm.
Do you hear about this guy?
No.
He put a couple bucks into Dogecoin, like a couple $100,000 into Dogecoin, and when Elon was tweeting about it,
Yeah.
and he became like multi-millionaire, and he held at the top, and he held, and now I think he's lost all his money again. But he's a guy, Dogecoin millionaire.
The
He
biggest
was on Fox,
formula. The
CNBC.
formula should be after 10x, sell about half. Another 10x, sell another half.
Humans are greedy,
That's-
though. People are
that's-
greedy.
Well, I mean, you have to have discipline. When you're an investor, I remember I learned a lot from Carp Riley, the investors that came into BoxyCharm at first, and we're still really good friends. And I can't tell you how much of a better CEO I became because of them, and I have to give them a shout out. Definitely, probably the best thing that ever happened to me. I became a different person working with them. I was able to see bigger, and I was able to understand that it's okay to lose a deal. There was a phrase I heard before, but with them, it made it. I was able to embrace it. Okay, it was I never lost money on a deal I didn't make. Now start from there. If I would always think about the money I lost on a deal I didn't make, you're a freaking gambler. The philosophy is to say, no, an investor doesn't worry about what he missed in what he didn't make. An investor should say, the money I dodged that I didn't lose, the deals I dodged that I didn't lose. As long as I keep winning, I am okay. This is where it is. I put $1, I have $1 plus, I'm good, I'm positive. Don't worry about what you missed. So when you have some revenue coming in 10x, go cash out your principal plus extra, and then sit down again.
So let's talk about, okay, smart theory. Everyone's going to say, yeah, for sure. But you, as an angel investor, so far, you haven't cashed out of anyone. Have you?
If I have what?
As an angel investor, you haven't cashed out.
So I made a couple investments. One of them, I mean, they're all a little bit long term, and one of them distribute dividend. So it was a dividend play,
Yeah, okay.
one of them, right? And the other one, in a nutshell, it's a company called Drinkpack. I can't really talk much about this. All it is that it's extremely profitable, and it's a longer term play like this. When you think about investing, yes, you do want to cash out, but when it makes sense to cash out, right?
But have you? So all your plays so far that you've invested in.
Some real estate, some.
No, forget real estate.
so,
But like the startups, have they all? You're still in all of them?
No.
Did you
It was
some fail?
like the small ones. You put 25 or 50K. You don't care. Like if it works, good. If it doesn't,
So some did not.
It's cheaper than going on vacation somewhere. It's like it's
Yeah,
all good.
yeah.
Some did not. And to be honest with you, there's some like anybody else. Like you invest in certain hypes, right? But you have a discipline, like no more than this amount or that amount, right?
So if you lost 25K, for example, was there anything that person or that founder could have done that would have made you put more in, or was
I
it?
didn't even bother.
No.
I said, listen, no worries, it's all good. It was one investment, and it was actually 50, and it was just no worries. Like she had to shut it down, it didn't work. I mean, the whole NFT market collapsed. She wanted to create some application for NFTs, and the idea was good. She's highly connected with a lot of people, so I thought maybe. But if I had to choose what is the odds for that to make it, I give it 10%. I knew what I'm getting myself into. I said 10%, but fine, I'll give her the 50. And if it does, it's going to be good. It came in early, so I said no problem. But that's where you put that type of money.
Are you going to get her to pay you back?
No, because it wasn't a personal guarantee, and I feel like it's fine. Like I know she wasn't coming and taking the money to go and party in Disneyland or something. It wasn't that. She was working. She was trying. So in my case, it was different. Like the other investments that were more, you put a couple millions, those did very well, and that's the one I cared about. And those are the ones that in year one, I think we grossed like $80 million in year one.
Yeah, but that's wild. That's not normal.
No, that's not normal. That's not, but again, there was only one investment.
How did you? Okay, so let's teach over a little bit. So, how do you look at like an angel investment? Like, how did you scope that one out? What were the things you look for? Was it the founder? Was it the idea? Was it the TAM? Like, what did you look for?
Definitely, the founder has to make sense. It has to make sense. Also, what is the size
what made the guy, girl? I don't know. So great.
So in this case, the girl was highly connected, and the thing is, here's where it comes. For me at least, okay, and I'm not a professional investor, so I kind of like say, well, how much is it? 25 or 50? The due diligence is going to be much less than $500,000 or more. So I made one investment that was a little bit less than $1 million, and then another one that was $1 million plus, right? So those ones were different, right? One of them I was not the lead investor. There was an organized investment group that went and did the entire due diligence, and the friends are like, if you want, come in with us on the same terms. I said, okay. They did all the due diligence, they're organized, their success rate is 90-something%. I said, makes sense. That's the one I mentioned. So that was a different story, and it's a lot easier for me because I'm not experiencing delegating anyway.
It's a lot of work too.
A lot of work. The other one that was a couple $100,000, it was dividend, and you start looking at their balance sheet, you do some due diligence, and you said, well, I wanted to actually put more. So what I said was, well, I'll put half first. I see how it does. I'll give it a year. Just give me an option to invest the same amount of money in a year from now. And then if it does good, I'll put more money. And even if it does good, I might not invest more money because I might find other deals.
But you
I
reserve
protected
the option.
myself. Yeah, I can reserve the option. So I did that, and the company is cool. Like they have it's a good potential. It's been quite a few years. It's a good business, and then the small one, yeah, it was too small, and a couple of friends came in and like, let's try, and that's it. I figure it's probably one or two a vacation in Mykonos or something, which I don't care to go again. So let's put it over there instead, and maybe something's gonna happen. If not, I'll write it as a loss.
No, very good. All right, what do we do?
Well, I have a couple of questions for you, Senor.
Yes. I didn't really. I asked. I didn't
have
even ask
questions.
You. Yeah, go. I'm trying to think. I think I got through most of mine.
Let me find one, okay?
What did I write down? I want to make sure that I actually got through mine. Where the hell did I write them?
Okay, so let me go and ask you this one. Okay, you ready?
Yes, go.
So you moved to Miami with Jenna, and by the way, she's awesome. I love her. But I gotta ask the question. It's a little bit less serious. If you had the chance to be single, coming down to Miami, knowing Miami that you know now, would you come single or would you come in kind of like half engaged already?
Half engaged.
Yeah.
So obviously, I would never choose to ever be single again because I really do love Gina. But I think that if I was single, I'd rather be single in Miami than single in Toronto.
Oh, that's a smart answer.
So Miami is definitely a single person
It's
city.
a single person city. But do you think it's a problem to stay married in Miami?
I mean, I know a lot of people that have issues with their relationships already, so I can't imagine that being in Miami in a tough relationship is a good idea. I think that maybe if you isolate yourself in the middle of nowhere with your spouse,
that's all there is.
That's all there is.
Yeah.
So I think that if you have a good relationship, it doesn't matter. But I think that if you probably look at divorce rates in Miami, they're probably higher than the national average.
I'll tell you.
Well, I think there's actually stats on like cheating in Miami and stuff. Like
no, they don't do that in Miami. What are you talking about? No. So after I broke up with my wife, and again, God bless her, she's amazing, I kept the ring for a while. Now, first there was COVID, so you couldn't go anywhere. But then when they opened it up, I kept the ring for a while. And honestly, I kept it because it was just hard for me mentally to take it out. Then I learned that it's actually a good thing. Because it doesn't stop a girl from talking to you in a bar.
I actually think it would probably increase the chances of a girl. Let's
just say it's the same odds, right?
Yeah.
Because I couldn't find a girl to say, hey, you're married. What is that? No.
Yeah.
And if she would, I would say, no, I'm not married. But point is, I kept it because I figure, I'm not into a relationship right away. I want to stay single. So I kept the ring. And I figure they're not going to bother me. I just play. She's not asking. I'm not lying. I would have told them I'm separated. And if they ask me, why do you keep the ring? Some of them did. I said, I should take it off, but I'm separated. Here's my apartment, all that. But most of them don't ask. And then they don't bother you because they think you're married. And you just call them when you want to call them. So I know it sounds bad, but I'm just being honest over here.
Because Miami's a party city. Yeah. So I think everybody's coming here to like get away from something. Yeah. Especially if you go on vacation, you're coming here to get away from something. So if you're trying to get away from something, obviously people want connection, but a lot of people don't want connection. Yeah. A lot of people want just one night. That's
100%. Yeah.
And that think about it. If you're trying to go after a guy and the guy's receptive to you and the guy's wearing a wedding ring, then you got one night. Yeah. And that's it. And you don't got some guy blowing up your phone for like the next 2 weeks.
But that's in case of tourism. I'm talking about locals, right? Because the bars I go to, it's locals and they still didn't care. But that's okay. So that's about you and Gina. Okay. Okay. I kind of wanted to ask you something about that. If you had to bring into a podcast a guest host, co-host, once a while to bring in, kind of like when you see Diamond Joan and Barbara Corkin. Once a while they're there, once a while they're not there. It's a rotation over there.
We need a woman.
Boom. What did I write over here?
What did you write?
On the bottom?
I'll add a woman.
Yeah, another perspective.
No, we need a woman. There's too much bro energy here.
Yes, 100%.
But I don't know who.
But well, sure. I have some options. Some really cool chicks that are just smart.
You know why? Because you know that podcast we did with Nas Daily and Dear Eileen? Yeah. Like I really liked that energy. 100%. And she was awesome. She was like grilling me and she was like pushing back and I actually appreciated that. And like actually I was talking to Gina about that podcast because that's I've done like a lot of podcasts and she doesn't listen to all the podcasts. But that one in particular, she did listen to and she's like having a woman's perspective on the show added.
Why don't we bring Gina and Patty, my ex? And
Yeah,
other
she do
people
it.
that we know, like they'll be giving perspective.
They
of
love it.
being alongside guys like us, like
They'd
annoying
absolutely
guys
love
like
it.
us. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be awesome.
But I think that perspective, because it's like they think of things that, well, you said this before. You said this a few times. Even running a business, the most important asset you had in running a business was your wife.
Yeah.
Because she looks at things differently. It's not just in your business; it's in life. So to have like a complete 360-degree view of any topic, you need to have all these different opinions.
The mistake where people say, well, there's always a woman behind a successful man, they're thinking, well, she's going to fold his clothes. And no, it's not about that.
Not at all.
It's much more than that. She sees things that men don't see, and men see things they don't see. So it has to
Men
be a
have a
unit.
lot of blind spots.
Yes, tons
and they have a lot
blind
of
spots.
ego.
Yeah, they
And
cover our six.
Yeah.
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 I remember Patty was looking at, I brought in at first some guys to box each other, and I told her, oh, they're great. And she didn't like them from the get-go. She told me they're not good. And working with them later on, she was right about everything.
Yeah.
Everything in the first look, she already didn't like them. She told me everything, why, and she said, they want your life, and she was right. Just, I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that was one out of many. So women can definitely get another perspective. So we're going to have to bring some women over here.
I actually wrote down questions, but then my notepad got deleted.
What?
I don't. I didn't save the notepad.
You don't remember what you write?
No, I do.
everything.
So I was asking about investing and like risk tolerance. I was asking about like after your company, like are you bored? Like,
You know what? If I'm bored, I found myself bored at first around June. No, around August 2021, and that's when I decided to build stuff.
Yeah.
So obviously I get a couple projects and business wise.
And we're doing this. So.
Yeah, and we're doing this. So the projects, you start working in dark until it works and you have a proof of concept, and then you go and you brag to everybody.
Yeah.
All that, right? Then you lose your humbleness. But first you have to make it work, right? Before, so you don't. But I had to build something. I remember, I get this call in 2018, and I think I told you the story where I got 2018 or 2017. Chronologically, I don't remember. No, before that. Fuck that. 2014.
Okay.
2014, right? I get this call, and they're telling me, look, we're from the Knight Foundation. We work with Endeavor. We found that you're one of the promising entrepreneurs of Miami. Like me? At that time, I had just the liquidation business. Was doing about 10 million in sales, but that's not a business in Miami that's going to say. Baxi was so young, it wasn't even a thing to mention. So they invited me to a roundtable meeting. I was sitting over there. Some people were heavy hitters, but some were like me, got lucky to even be in that situation. We were sitting on a 50-something floor overlooking the bay, and I remember I was looking at the intern dressed with a 3-piece suit. Amazing place. Everyone dressed beautiful, and I was just there, coming from Hialeah and kind of like a cheapest part in town to get like the cheapest square foot in town. And I remember I saw one of the ladies that was there, and she had her exit when she was 23, selling something to IBM. And then she said, I decided not to do anything. So after a couple of years, I got bored. I built another business. I sold it to, I think, Walmart, something crazy like that. Now I'm doing another thing. At that time, I want to say she's like 50, 60. It's kind of hard to tell. She had her Hermes bag. She had the driver, Rolls, all that, right? And I said to myself, look at this. I have a business. Yeah, I make some money, but this is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking too small. Look at what people they have. The intern has a better lifestyle than myself. Working over here. I need to get something else. I got to double down on the box. I got to make sure that if I have an office, this is where I want to be. Mm-hmm. I want to be dressed to impress every fucking day, because every day is a special day. It doesn't have to be a wedding or something. I don't want to be one of those 50, 60-year-olds that run a liquidation business that has warehouses somewhere, and that's all their life in the shittiest part of it. I don't want that. Let's go and let's change it up. And this is where I say you have to change it up. You have to see something else to get perspective of what else is out there. And it's not all about the money. And that really transformed me. I went back and I doubled down on the box. I said, that's it.
Okay, here's a tough question. After you exited, do you feel like when you're not working, because you're working on projects, but you're not.
I don't have a job.
Do you feel like you're not as sharp as when you were on every day?
Different, right? It depends. When you have your and you sit on something, then you dive into it deep, right?
But do you have to do anything? Because I found this. That's why I asked. Because when I take a break from working as hard, or say I'm more comfortable in a job, I don't like this feeling. But I feel like even like when I'm having a conversation, like things don't like come as fast. I feel like if I'm doing and solving problems every single day, like my brain is just always firing and sharp and with it and on it. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But I'm curious, like if you felt like
it's a good question, because look, if I had to sit down right now and take myself back into the time where I built my first website,
yeah,
and I had to figure out SEO and I had to figure out everything, right? I was laser focused on a couple things. I was focused on marketing, so focused that you couldn't get me away from that. So I wasn't the best in, say, buying the right merchandise and all that, because I understood that the most important part is the marketing. Then I can optimize everything else, right? So there's parts into it. I feel like I haven't changed when I ran Baxi up until then, and the money doesn't really make a difference, because you have the pride and you have your ego, and the image of your business it's reflected on you. So eventually, once you have a business and you have a proof of concept, that's when you know exactly where to drive. So say right now we're just driving north. We know it's somewhere north, but then we found the highway that it's free, instead of paved roads from here and there with the campus. Like, here is the northern highway, boom.
yeah,
Then you're so focused on that drive, right? So once you get the aha and you know that this is what you double down on, that's when you're gonna go back to be the scrappy, if that's what you mean.
yeah, exactly.
Because you need that. You need that part, because I can't be scrappy right now and build something that might not need to be existing.
So you need that North Star. You need a North Star to like drive you and get.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I have right now 2-3 projects, right? And then once you find one, but this is a leisure, right? This is literally leisure. I'm not looking to go and make this a $1 billion business, because it's a leisure for me. But and for you too, there's money behind this and all that. But it's cool. It's a cool thing, right? It's very different once you go and you build yourself a business. Let's just say I decide to sell smoke detectors, and you have amazing market, smoke detectors. Once you find the proof of concept and you say, hey, here's that company. They're doing 700 million a year, and they're not even that good. Look at this. They're only distributing through. They don't have any online presence, and we can go and do it better. And you start selling and you start growing, and you find out that it's better, and you find those channels from your past life that were already too competitive for the beauty industry, but now for smoke detector industry, you have no competition. So you feel like, this is awesome. Let's go. You feel like you're going into, I always like to give this, it's a bad analogy, but it's right for that. It's like you're coming into a new continent that was discovered with AR, and everyone else over the old indigenous people have bows and arrows. Okay, I'm running this place now, right? Eventually they get ARs, they can compete with this.
Yeah.
Okay, no, let's go to another continent. I'm not competing with them. So that's what you're doing. It's like, okay, this is it. Here is my new one, right? So I have a couple of them. I was looking for categories that are not competitive online. And it's hard. Everything is competitive online. What are you going to find that's not competitive
you're right.
online? What are you going to do? You have the Logan brothers, you have the Logan Paul brother, and you have The Rock. You have to find something that no one was touching yet, but yet the market cap is big enough that you can still enter. And then the cost of goods makes sense to sell it online, because not everything sells online, because not everything has a profit. So you have to find something and say, does the cost of goods make sense to even sell it online? And then if I enter this, I have to grow fast enough before some celebrity is going to go and try to copy me, and build community behind this, and then eventually make sure that it's going to be too big to fail. So this is where I go. And once you find it, you double down on that thing.
So the reason why I asked this is because even I feel that feeling of excitement and conquering something and figuring it out. I feel like that's the excitement that gets entrepreneurs sort of up in the morning. But in all seriousness, the reason why I started this podcast is because every time I have a conversation with somebody who's an expert in a different field or a different domain, I have to find a way to keep up with them. And I think it's like the ability to keep up with somebody that keeps you sharp.
What do you mean? So if you interview a person,
if I interview a person, I'm trying to understand everything they've learned over their entire lifetime. Kind of like I'm going into a new company and trying to understand a new market, a new product for the first time. It's like, it's this rush, and it's just you have to.
You need to give them a lot of alcohol to really tell you the important parts.
But you have to, you 100%, because people are all shy on camera. But you got to go and you got to be like operating at 150%.
100%.
And that's why I love this. That's why I love this, because it's just, you're forcing smart conversations and smart interactions on you. And I think that the better way you build that into your life, if it's just like listening to podcasts or reading books or whatever, or actually hosting a podcast, talking to awesome people, I think that keeps you sharp and it keeps you at the top of your game.
It keeps you sharp doing this, right? This is definitely the first thing.
It's the first thing you mentioned. You said, I want conversation with people to make me smarter.
Yeah. You want to come out smarter after that conversation, because the idea was that when you go and you say what kind of like separates successful people and not successful people is when they sit down and talk.
Yeah.
The successful people, when they talk to their friends, they talk ideas and opportunities.
Yeah.
The ones that are not, they'll talk about everything that's not important, right? And they're going to go to sleep thinking about what's not important. I don't know, video games, whatever it is, right? So you say to yourself, well, I'm going to go and give you those conversations over here, right? And there are plenty of those. There are plenty of podcasts. There are plenty of this, but you'll never know where is that one little piece that you needed to hear to change you.
Yeah.
Right? I had maybe 4 events in my life that really spiked my business because of something I heard from someone.
But you can now
And
those
I can
are
actually
ingrained
pinpoint
in
it.
your head.
100%.
Those sentences you heard.
Yeah.
How wild is that?
Crazy. You feel the first time was when I got the list of all the suppliers for the liquidation, and I asked them, all right, so I got all those suppliers, awesome. But first, how do I buy the goods? I mean, I don't have money to buy truckloads from Macy's, from all their excess inventory. They said, well, you don't need to. You get the list, and then you show the list to a buyer, and then you buy it for them, and you mark it up. How do I get the buyer? Oh, they call it search engine optimization. So it's like, okay, how do I get the buyer? I have the goods. Now, how do I get the buyer? Now, okay, now I know how to get the buyer, and I have the goods. Okay, let's start. That moment was a surreal moment where I knew that this is it. My life changed.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all I needed to know. Say no more. I'll figure it out. SEO, you said, okay. Those are the words to go. Okay.
You know what it was for me? In not my last company, much earlier on, I was managing and heading up sales in a company that was acquired by a private equity firm. And I'd never thought of startup. I'd never thought of exit events. I'd never thought of acquisition in my life. My family, they're all in government, and they've all worked non-startup private jobs, right? Even the people that in my family that have worked in private, they've worked in like Fortune 1000.
Yeah.
So the word startup never really, no one has a conversation about startups or entrepreneurship. And when that company was acquired, I'm like, shit, I know how to get to where I want to be. So I'm going to double down and work in startup land. And that was like the beginning of everything. It was working as a consultant with startups. It was doubling down as CRO of a startup. It was going through an exit event. It was working with my current company to start. And when you start working in startups, then you start learning all the skills that allow you to build something yourself. So working with all those startups and working from a ground level gave me the tools and the skills that allowed me to build a podcast successfully, allowed me to do everything successfully. So that particular event, because up until that point,
How many people were in the first startup?
50,
And the second one?
20.
20.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so you work with the CEO
Yeah.
all the time. Then
Yeah.
you get to be around an entrepreneur, and then you become them.
Yeah.
Right. That's the idea. So yeah.
That was it. I was like, this is how, because before that, career growth seemed very linear. It's like you get a job and you move up and you move up and you move up. And I was damn good at my jobs too, but it was never leverageable. There was never a point where I could leverage my time for more than my salary. And then all of a sudden the equity conversation comes into play, and all of this, like now there's leverage everywhere. Everything I do, I look for leverage. I look for
how did you think about leverage suddenly, equity in the company? Because unless you see some friends getting that, and
because I saw the founder sell the company.
Yeah,
I saw the founder sell the company for
Interesting.
just under 9 figures.
yeah,
And I saw that the fact that he had worked for something for 10 years and he cashed out.
yeah. Like the change for me was on 20.
And I'm like, shit, I should have been part of this.
Listen, look, everyone needs that transformation in their life, and if they don't, that's fine, as long as they're happy. It's not for everyone. This is a tough route that you take because there's a lot of many uncertainties. You have to find the what. The what is probably the biggest challenge. What is the next idea? And then the execution, especially after you did this the first time, it's not a big deal. It's just very challenging, especially when you get the first one. To get the second one, it's already, is it really luck? Maybe
No,
not.
I don't think so.
How do you know that it's going to work? How do you know to double down? Well, I kind of tried a couple things for the second one. Not that many, but really quickly I knew what is a winner and what's a loser. So the loser, I killed them
you
fast.
have this library of experience. So you already know the 99 things that won't work.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, let's. I know the best practices in ops and sales and marketing and HR I know all the best so far. I mean, I have my experience. So let me just try and optimize every little bit.
What's the difference between reading a book about this or listening to a podcast about this versus actually doing it? I think the difference is that, if I've been in in a particular area, actually been there, spoke to people versus reading about this, it's a big difference, right? Just what do you want to do? Do you want to actually play? There was a movie with Kevin Costner when he was teaching. He had to go and teach. He had to instruct a team of soldiers how to extract people from drowning in Alaska. I forgot the name of the movie, and ask Jamie, he's going to find the name. So then the point with him, it was kind of like a hero. He was the one that saved more people than anybody else. It's kind of like a helicopter. People go fishing in Alaska, very dangerous. He jumps in. And I remember he was kind of like the unorthodox teacher when the army brought him over, the Coast Guard. And there was a point over there where you see those generals coming into his room because they had enough with this off the box type of teacher that goes over there and teaches. So they go, and all the soldiers are in the pool like this, and then they're coming to me like, "What are you doing? You have to go be in the class with them and talk to them about hypothermia." So he goes and he was telling me, like, in about 32 seconds, they're all gonna have hypothermia. So he literally said, "Oh, you want to know about hypothermia? Forget the book, throw it away. Let's go to this ice cold water. Stay with me. We're all going to get through the experience together so you'll know what hypothermia is," right? Yeah. This is what you get when you actually get to do the job, right? This is what happens when you get to do the job. So trying something and failing is part of your process. Don't read about this. Don't keep getting models. Will it work? No, fuck the models. You need to try. The probability the model is right is so low. Go and do it. Yeah. Try. Just make sure you fail very fast, because if you fail slow,
it's just more expensive.
Very more expensive, and you'll never make it in life. You have to move fast. So to go and get the second part, it's like, I feel like the situation is after you go and you take an entrepreneur, you strip him away from everything he had. He said, "Okay, no more money for you. What do you do now?" "Okay, it's going to be harder because I have less, but I have what's in my head." But what I've been through those roads, it's a lot easier. What happens is when you do have a business, and this is where it's easier to start another business when you have a business, is that you have a platform. What is the worst thing that you want to do when you start a business? Well, I have to hire a couple people, 2 or 3 people, for example. One is a secretary, bookkeeper, for example, or not even. I can do it myself. No, actually, I need one. Okay, fine. Plus another person to do X, Y, Z. And I need a place. And so now you have to invest some money to a maybe. And a lot of people don't want to do it because you're saying, you know what? I don't know. Let me go and check before. Let me start in my garage again and all that. But if you have no infrastructure, you're weeding out quite a few options of what you're going to try, because once you have a business, it's a lot easier to start a second business on top of the other business, because you have already office space, at least for me, warehouse, office, employees. Can you guys build boxes over here? We're going to allocate those pallet trucks only for BoxyCharm merchandise, and let's take that place to assemble the boxes. And once you start seeing a proof of concept, okay. So I didn't have to go and hire people for that. It was so easy, right? So what I'm trying to do now is I said, well, I'll start a business that's going to be doing good, lifestyle business. But what I'm going to have is an infrastructure. Is that going to be the next big thing? Maybe. Is that for sure? No. But it's going to be the platform I needed to make the next big thing.
And that's also why a lot of the brands that you know today did not start out as the brands that you know. They started out as one thing, and they tried it out, and they tested it out. And like household names, Jamie can pull examples too. But there's household names of companies that you'd know that are known for one product that started very differently.
That's true. Yeah, you deviate, right? You zigzag.
No one will fail if they just try and learn from their mistakes for like 10 plus years.
Yes.
It's impossible to fail. And people always think, what are the rates of entrepreneurs failing? It's not 90%. It's only 90% because people give up after 2-3 years. So if you have a job or you have cash flow from another business, if you keep trying and iterating and trying and learning and trying, you will build something.
I mean, there is also a dark side in entrepreneurship. I'll give you an example. I've seen on Shark Tank a guy that, I like this guy because he was ex-army, and he came down and he ended up talking about how he served and all that. And then he came up with an idea, and he needed to build this. It was like a big device the size of a refrigerator that you're going to put in a doctor's office, and there's a bunch of screens on it, and you can play a game or something like that. And he said each one cost, $20,000, and he needs some money, and he already mortgaged his house twice. And
that's not smart.
Exactly. So you also have to have intelligent options when you go into. And I remember when he left, they were trying to convince him to not invest anymore. And he said, no, I'm not going to give up. And if that means I have to get another loan, I'll do it. And they're like, please don't do it. And he left. And you see all the sharks like, no. And then and Kevin O'Leary said something smart. He said, this is the dark side of entrepreneurship. So there is that. And I think it's important to hear this in this show. They say, listen, guys, don't put your life saving, your kids saving. You can do things like this when you're young, when you have no liability, when you don't have dependents. Don't do it when you have dependents. That's why you want to try when you're young.
Yeah.
You don't want you definitely
But
can
there's also
continue
ways
when
to
you're
try.
old.
There's also ways
There are
to
also
try
ways to try. Be smart.
without the spend.
100%.
So when I say you try something for 10 years, I don't mean you spend $2 million, $3 million, $5 million trying over the course of 10 years. There's going to be some capital required, but you have to be smart too.
And like, when do you listen to people and when you don't, right? It's a challenging thing, right? When people tell you it's not going to work, but you still come out from the other side, say, look, it worked. And this is where you see a lot on social media. People brag about this, but sometimes you should listen to people. In that case, they told them, listen, no one's going to be using it. They're going to be using their iPhone.
So you iterate.
And how do you know? Like, it's just the way people are wired, and you cannot teach at all.
No, but
some
if you're
people
not
are
learning-
going to fail and die.
If you're not learning, then that's part of the formula for success. So if you don't take feedback and you don't improve and you don't change things and you don't pivot and you don't do all these buzzwords which are real, then that's where you fail.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I just think that it's really not for everybody.
Yeah,
The bottom line is it's not for everybody, and sometimes there will be casualties.
Yes.
There will be some dead people along the way, and that's why the risk reward is a big thing. It's just the reason we're compensated like this because we assume the risk.
Yeah.
So
All right.
that was good.
Awesome, dude.
That was awesome.
Okay, we'll do more of these.
Awesome.